I've interviewed with a lot of different companies during my time in commercial real estate, and in every interview I've gone through, the question that I've dreaded most is one of the most common interview questions in any industry, and that is, what are your salary expectations? And when someone asks you what you want to get paid, this ends up putting you in a really uncomfortable position because you don't want to come in too low and shoot yourself in the foot, but you also don't want to come in too high and sound entitled, or even potentially disqualify yourself immediately from the process altogether. So in case you are going through the interview process right now and want to get a better sense of how to tackle questions around your target pay, in this video, let's walk through 3 of the most helpful strategies that I've found to navigate the what are your salary expectations question and how you can actually make this question work in your favor on interview day. So to start this list off, if an interviewer asks you what your target compensation is, my first recommendation is to spin this question back around on them by asking the interviewer if they have a target range for the position. When going through the internal process to actually get a job posting approved, a company will generally need to make a decision around pay ranges up front, and the interview is almost always going to know this before heading into your interview. And it might seem like you're dodging the question by answering this with a question of your own, but if you frame this in the right way, this could actually be a great way to get the company to show their cards before you show your own. So if you're asked this question in your interview, you might answer by saying something along the lines of, right now my focus is on finding the right opportunity with the right team, and I don't necessarily have a target figure in mind. However, I also don't want pay to get in the way of accepting an offer that otherwise feels like the right fit, so I'd love to know if you have a target compensation range that you could potentially share with me. And an answer like this makes it clear that you're not just switching jobs for a pay raise or choosing offers based on which company is going to pay you the most, but instead that you have a long-term vision of where you could take your career within the next company that you join, and that for the right opportunity, you're willing to work out the details on a compensation package as you get further down the road. Now, once a company gives you a target range, they're most likely going to turn right back around and ask you if this is roughly in line with what you'd be looking for, which leads me to the next strategy on this list, which is that if you're backed into a corner where you feel like you have to answer this question, make sure that your figure is an at least number. And what I mean by this is that instead of throwing out a general range that might vary 10 to 20% between the high end and low end, my recommendation is to use a singular anchor number that if you saw on an offer letter, you would happily accept. I'm a big fan of not wasting time when it comes to interviews, especially with how lengthy and drawn out the process can be, and this is a great way for both you and the company to weed out each other if you're just too far off on pay from the start. In my opinion, it's better to know this up front, even if it means disqualifying yourself as a candidate early on, rather than going through multiple phone conversations and in-office meetings only to find out in the final stages of the process that the company just can't get to where you need to be. So when answering this question, if your at least number was $130,000 per year, for example, your answer to the what are your salary expectations question might be something along the lines of, assuming the position is the right fit on both sides, in order to make a move from my current employer, the all-in compensation package for the role would need to come in at around $130,000 per year or higher. Now, a lot of people recommend giving a general range when asked this question, but I actually see this as counterproductive, since this is usually going to anchor you to the low end of your range and can also unintentionally cap your offer out at the highest number in that range. So for example, if you answer the what are your salary expectations question by answering that you'd be looking for a compensation package of $100,000 to $120,000 per year, you've effectively just told an employer that you're willing to accept that $100,000 number, even if this is actually something you'd be disappointed with if this is where the offer were to shake out. And on the other end of the spectrum, when sharing the high end of your range, you're proactively telling an employer that you have zero expectation to earn anything above this figure that you've quoted, and this can really come back to bite you if their initial offer would have actually been higher than the high end of your range, in the first place. Ultimately, by providing a target minimum compensation package, you make it clear that it just doesn't make sense for you to make a move for anything less than this number, and this can prevent you from going through a long, drawn-out interview process for a role that ultimately just isn't going to work out. Now, to round out this list, my last recommendation is closely tied to this concept of anchoring, and this is to make sure that you anchor your internal expectations on the role you will be taking on, rather than how much money you're making in your current job and how much those two numbers differ. When you take on a new position, you're also taking on new roles and responsibilities, and with that, what you've made in other jobs that you've previously had, where you've had different roles and responsibilities, is not going to be relevant to what you should be making today. Companies hire employees to solve problems, and they pay those employees based on how much having that problem solved is worth to their organization. And this means that even if you're making only $80,000 per year in your current role, and you find out that the target compensation for the role you're applying for is $120,000 to $140,000 per year, you don't need to automatically assume that you'll be on the low end or even below that range because of what you're currently making. Companies establish pay range targets for a reason, because they're trying to attract the best talent for the position, and they know that having the right candidate in the role is worth far more than what they're going to have to pay to get that person onto the team. And since commercial real estate firms are often working with 7, 8, or even 9-figure properties, if the right candidate can help a lender close one more loan per year, a broker get one more listing per year, or an investor buy one more property per year, these things can easily result in a multi-6-figure increase in revenue for the company, which more than pays for that new hire salary. The only time when it might make sense to disclose what you're currently making or anchor your target based on your current compensation levels is if you know that you're making just slightly more than the company is willing to offer, and you want to provide a concrete, legitimate reason why you need to make more money to make the position work. So if you're making something like $110,000 per year in your current role, and the company offers you $105,000 as a starting point, sharing your current compensation package can actually be a great negotiation tactic, and if the company likes you and wants to bring you onto the team, this can usually get you over the hump. Overall, if you're asked what your salary expectations are in a commercial real estate interview, the goal should be to first turn this around on the employer and ask if they have a range that they're targeting, and if they turn that question back around on you, make sure to set an anchor at a number that you'd be excited about, and make sure that number is based on the job that you would be doing rather than the job that you currently have. And if you want more personalized help with navigating the interview process or preparing for an Excel exam that might be thrown your way when interviewing for analyst or associate roles at commercial real estate firms, make sure to check out our all-in-one membership training platform, Breaking a CRE Academy. A membership to the Academy will give you instant access to over 120 hours of video training on real estate financial modeling and analysis. You get access to hundreds of practice Excel interview exam questions, sample acquisition case studies, our entire library of pre-built acquisition, development, and waterfall models for multifamily, industrial, office, and retail deals, and you'll also get access to private one-on-one email-based career coaching if you're looking to break into the industry and want some additional guidance and feedback along the way. And if you like this video and want to see more content on this channel on commercial real estate interview questions, make sure to hit the like button to let me know, and let me know in the comments how you've navigated this question in interviews in the past. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.